Alright, so today I want to go over the fried liver attack and the three main lines. I just want to go over this opening just because everybody loves to play it for some reason. It's probably not a good opening for either black or white, but it is at lower levels and it is a fun opening nevertheless. I used to play it a lot. So anyway, so it starts with white, just e4 and then e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and knight f6. So this is the two knights defense for black. So this invites more or less this fried liver attack that's going to happen. This invites the knight g5 move here. This is still a good defense for black, and white doesn't necessarily have to play this. But a lot of players do because they just feel that they knight g5 attacks the f7 square right away, and that's really what you want to try to do in the opening anyways, really hammer on that f7 square. So we'll play g5, and then this is where the three main lines come in. So the first line we're going to go over is just d5 here, and then e takes d, and then knight takes e. So this happens quite a bit at the lower levels anyway, because black just feels that, well, he has to block that, so that's why he pushes the pawn to begin with, and then once e takes d, he feels that after the knight retakes, he's relatively safe. But this is what happens. Knight just continues to attack the f7 square, forking the queen and the rook, and then black doesn't have much of a choice but to take the knight here. And then this is where the real attack comes in. So white checks with the queen, having a double attack on the knight here, and black can get into some trouble. I mean, he might know this line and purposely have played it because he knows what his next move is, but sometimes he doesn't, and he just realized that he's in a lot of trouble here, and he might move his queen to defend and just want to do the queen exchange right away. He is up a piece, right? But then black just retakes with check here, and then if black tries to defend here, still looking for the queen trade, then white would just continue to take the knight here, and then if he wants to exchange the queens, then white just simply goes back and takes. Either way, black's going to be in a lot of trouble here. He's going to be down a pawn for sure. He might have double pawns in the c-file. It's just not good. So that's a mistake. So I'll show you white's only real move here, or black, sorry, is the king to come here, because he has to defend this square, right? Got two attackers on it, and he needs at least two defenders. So then white continues to put the pressure on that square by moving that knight there. He's still putting a lot of pressure. Black has to defend again, and often goes here. So now black's threatening this fork here, forking the king and the rook. White can defend by moving his queen here, and it's defending this square, and he's going to have a pretty good attack here, because then he's looking at, either pushing this d pawn or pushing the f pawn, eventually castling, and he's going to create another pin here along with the pin that his bishop has on his knight, and it's going to be pretty deadly. But he doesn't have to move his queen. This is another tricky move he can do. I'm going to go over quick. This probably still wins for white, but if black plays super sharp and knows the line, he is up a piece right now. If he can hold on to that piece and keep his king relatively safe, he'll go on and win. And if he has to give the piece back but still get compensation somehow by maybe getting his king in a safe zone, then he can have a comfortable game at least. But a good move for white here is just a3. He's just pushing this knight, and this is inviting the fork, which he almost has to take. So the queen's here. He goes here, and forks for the check, and then white moves here. He pretty much has to take this rook, because if he can maybe move back here to attack the queen, but then white just has more attackers on this knight, so he can just do the queen exchange, trade off some pieces. He's gonna be up a pawn then, plus his king's gonna be in horrible shape. So usually he just takes this rook, and then white has a pretty good attack, because he doesn't care that he's down. He's down a lot of material, but he doesn't care, because he's gonna get this knight back for free. Whether he takes it with the knight first and then has a discovered check after he moves this knight wherever he wants, or checks him right away. He doesn't want to take it with the queen, obviously. He doesn't want a queen exchange, so he'll be down material. But the point is, he's going to get this knight, and he's going to have a bishop, a knight, and a queen attacking a wide open king on black here. He's going to be able to get him in some sort of mating web. Black can hold off for a little bit, but I don't think there's a chance that black can prevent a checkmate here. All right, so that's the first line I want to go over. The second line. So this is usually not good for black, that line. I mean, black can play perfect defense and maybe hold on, but there's just a lot of opportunity for him to make mistakes. I mean, even if he's up that piece, it's just his king's wide open, and it's not good for him. All right, so we'll go here, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. We'll go over this quick. So this is, obviously white's playing Italian here, and you're going to see this opening a lot anyway. If you're playing black, white opens Italian a lot. I play Italian all the time as white. Okay, two knights defense. All right, knight g5. Then we're going to go over the next line here, which is the main line, which is supposedly the best line for black, and it's the d5 pawn push again, and then it's take. And instead of the knight taking the pawn, this knight goes here to a5, and this is supposedly the best line for black. It is pretty good, but white can still have a very good game. If white knows this line good, he should still win. So you got to check here. So the c3, so d takes c, b takes c, and then the bishop has to move. Well, he doesn't have to. There's this other kind of sneaky line here where the queen goes here, pinning the pawn and the rook here. And if he takes, you just take the rook. Then this gets a little tricky. It's maybe bishop here. Bishop here. Sometimes the rook goes here and sacks another pawn, or gives up that pawn to get an open file and a pretty good attack here. But I mean, this isn't played a lot, but it can be played. So just to, if you're black, and just to let you know what your possibilities are here. What's going to be played more often as white is retreating the bishop, and retreating it there is probably a mistake. It definitely is a mistake. A lot of people do it because they feel that they still have the pin, right? The pawn is still pinned to the king. But the best move, the book line, is back here. The bishop goes back. And let's just go over this quick, right? So white's up a pawn, and black has an isolated c-pawn, which isn't good, but he's a little bit more developed. That knight there doesn't look too healthy, but white has nothing developed. But black's going to get some initiative here, right? He's going to start bouncing around this knight. So this is black's next move. Knight goes back to f3, and then he pushes this e-pawn, and then the knight's really running out of squares, right? So he has to more or less, I mean, he can go here, which is just not good. It's just way too passive, and it's going to lead to a lot of trouble. So he's going to go here, and then often black will attack. He has to keep the pressure on. He's going to continue to attack that knight, maybe with the bishop or with the queen. I see both quite often. But either way, I mean, d4 isn't that bad. You think at first, I mean, you want to protect your knight, and then you're afraid of the en passant. But even if they do, then the knight just goes back here, and it's still going to get crazy. It's still going to be very sharp, but nevertheless, it's not too bad. Actually, the queen can go right to this square to attack. So this gets a little trickier. He goes to this square. Then the en passant, take, retake, and then here to take this pawn. But then, this is going to cause some trouble. Anyway, it's hard to say, but this is a line you're going to see often, actually, from both black and white. All right, we're going to go over another line quickly. So that knight move for black is supposed to be the best line. But I think black's best line is the Traxler. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, and so this is the Traxler here. This bishop c5 is going to be pretty deadly. Now, white's going to think that black made a mistake, and maybe he did, but nevertheless, white's going to attack here. It's f7 square. And he's forking the queen and the rook, but black doesn't care right now, right? He's just going to take this for check. And then the king doesn't have to take. He can move here. Here isn't probably good with another check, but he can move here and not take, but he should. Theoretically, it's white's best move is to take here. And then black comes down for another check. And then there's a lot of pressure on white, right? He's in check. He can attack the knight, but this can lead into a lot of trouble. His best move is to go actually back here, which seems relatively passive, and it is, but it's his best option. So, and he is up a piece. Well, actually, I mean, he's down a bishop. He's going to be up that rook. The queen's going to move. White can play pretty sharp here and, play great defense and maybe pull this off, but black has a really good attack here. He's threatening checkmate. And if white wants to defend that square with, something like this or like this, either of these two squares defending this square, then this knight is going to come down here, and that's going to be trouble for white. So he's probably going to maybe threaten this, and black can actually sack the knight, and then retake, and then queen takes, and that's a check. So white only has one move here, and then black, this is pretty good for black. It saves his rook, and it attacks the king. So white has a move here. Now white really has to think of, what he wants to do, because his next move is very important, because this is going to cause a lot of trouble for white, because the bishop's going to come down here to check, and then, take, retake with another check, and then this knight is still going to get into the action here. So this is where white has to play crazy sharp. I mean, it's hard to say what he's even going to do here. Get his queen out to defend. He can push this d pawn, but either way, I'll leave it up to you guys to figure out how you kind of want to defend here. I mean, I like this line for black, but I've won playing white in this same position as well. So Anyway, that's my video on the three basic lines for fried liver, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.